The elevator doors slid open with a chime, revealing a young woman standing between two suited security guards. She held a mop in one hand and a small cleaning caddy in the other. Her eyes were wide but calm, and though she didn't speak a word, her presence said everything. She stepped into the top floor of the glossy headquarters, a place where few ever dared walk uninvited. Her plain uniform looked out of place against the polished marble floors and glass walls. Executives whispered. Assistants stared. And at the far end of the hall, behind a massive desk in a corner office, the CEO glanced up with mild irritation. That was the first time he saw her. The maid didn't speak. She only smiled nervously and raised her hands. With a few slow, graceful movements, she signed, "Good morning, sir." The CEO blinked, confused. The room went still. He'd never been greeted like that before. He didn't reply. Not out of rudeness, but because he didn't know how. Her name was Liana. She had joined the night cleaning staff only a week earlier. Working quietly, sweeping after hours, avoiding eye contact, and never causing trouble. She was deaf from birth and spoke only through sign language, though most people never noticed. Or cared. To them, she was just another cleaner, someone who worked in silence and disappeared before the building woke up. But that morning, everything changed. The previous cleaner had quit unexpectedly, and management, desperate to keep the executive floors pristine, asked Liana to fill in. She agreed, though her heart pounded with anxiety. She'd never cleaned in daylight before. Never. Faced stares or judgment. Security didn't know what to make of her silence. She didn't respond to instructions, didn't look them in the eye, and instead handed over a small card she kept in her pocket. "Hello, I am deaf. I communicate with sign language. Thank you for your patience." They decided to escort her upstairs just in case. And so she found herself standing in front of the CEO of one of the country's top design firms, mouthing the words as she signed, her eyes full of both fear and determination. "Good morning, sir." The CEO, Nathan Halle, was a man used to control. At 42, he ran his company with sharp precision and little patience for anything that slowed him down. He didn't enjoy surprises, and certainly didn't like being caught off guard by his own staff, let alone a maid. But something in the girl's face, the openness of it, the quiet courage, it stayed with him. He watched her work that day. From behind his tinted office walls, he observed how carefully she moved, how she checked every corner twice, how she smiled gently at the receptionist and gave a small nod to the mail clerk. She didn't say a word, but somehow filled the space with presence. That night, he couldn't stop thinking about her. The next morning, she returned. Again, she signed, "Good morning." Again, she was silent. But this time, Nathan stood and nodded back. And this time, he asked his assistant, find out more about her. What he learned surprised him. Liana had grown up in a small town, raised by her grandmother after her parents abandoned her at age 7. Despite being deaf, she had taught herself to read lips, write fluently, and paint. Her dream had been to study design, but money ran out and she dropped out of community college. For years, she cleaned homes and buildings at night, hiding from a world that didn't know how to hear her. Nathan didn't know why it bothered him so much. Maybe it was because his mother had once been a janitor, or because he remembered the humiliation of being overlooked when he was young. Or maybe, just maybe, it was because he saw himself in her silence. One morning he waited. When Liana walked in, ready to clean, he stood from his desk. He lifted his hands slowly and clumsily. Signed, "Good morning, Liana." She froze, startled. Then her eyes welled up. He'd said her name, in her language. From that day forward, something shifted. Nathan arranged for her to work mornings only. He assigned someone to help teach staff basic sign language. And then quietly, he gave her a gift envelope with a full scholarship to attend a design institute of her choice. along with a note written in his own handwriting. You deserve to be seen, not just noticed. She wept when she read it. And Nathan, for all his money, his status, and his walls, felt something break inside him. A good kind of break, a human one. Months later, Liana stood in front of the same elevator doors, dressed not in a maid's uniform, but in a sleek, gray outfit. She was now an intern in the company's design department, nervous again, but this time with purpose. As she passed by the CEO's office, she caught his eye through the glass wall. She smiled and signed, "Thank you." He smiled back, and this time he signed, "Keep going." In a world so loud and rushed, all it took was one quiet voice, one silent greeting, to remind a man who had everything that kindness, connection, and dignity were more valuable than anything else. Sometimes the smallest people enter our lives in the quietest ways and leave the loudest impact.